Which sport is better? Rugby or American football? Okay, so I'm making a technology note here because I have been filming a lot of videos today and around a little bit under around 3.5 hours of filming today. And when I do that much filming, I'm bound to run into problems. One of the problems I addressed in kind of like a tip on how to film, which is I got somebody called while I was filming and so it stopped filming, so I had to redo the entire video even though I did the entire thing all the way through, because when I get a call on my camera and I'm filming, it stops filming if I don't have it on airplane mode. And so a second glitch was I checked my video so I've already filmed this, the rugby or American football one, but what happened was somehow, so I checked the video afterwards. I checked my videos after I filmed them just to make sure that it got recorded and stuff like that. And it was fine. And then I'm going through this evening, curating and checking all of the videos at the end of the day, and my audio for the video is gone. And I cannot recover it or retrieve it. So there's some glitch with my phone that happened when I filmed this last time, this round, the rugby or American football, which sport is better. So filming wise, I actually ended up filming the rest of the competition today. So yeah, so this video is already a little different because I have to describe this technology glitch. But yeah, so this video is filmed after the other videos and I'm making a point of bringing this up because in some of my later videos I reference bringing a prop, which is my rugby ball. I have a rugby ball, and so in some of the videos that are posted after this one, they were actually filmed before this because this video was actually filmed earlier, but because they can't recover the audio, I'm not gonna post that video because it doesn't have the audio. For whatever reason my phone glitched and didn't record, or it did, but then when I went to check back later, the audio was no longer there, which is kind of like a nightmare situation. But luckily I caught that today, so I can still film this same day and remember some of the points that I brought up in this video. So yeah, yeah. So we're gonna go through rugby or American football. Which sport is better? So how are they similar? How are they different? And what's my experience with these? So rugby or American football? So they're both team sports. They both run plays. That's about as similar as they are. The same field size. Game length, I think if I'm recalling correctly, rugby was, at least that I played, was halves and American football was quarters. American football has a small little pigskin, although I guess they can get pretty big. This is a rugby ball. It's a beast of a ball. One of the biggest differences between rugby and American football is so they're both ball sports. So I got a South Africa Springboks for the Rugby World Cup in 2011. That's why I got this ball. I played rugby what's my experience with these sports? I played rugby on the intercollegiate level, so against other college teams for the University of Washington. I did women's rugby. That's my experience playing. I was aware of it and watched it before and during and after that, including I went and studied abroad in South Africa, and we actually watched at least one rugby game for the school I attended, which was Nelson Mandela Metropolitan University. I did not compete, but we did watch. And then American football, most of my experience is with full, not so much full, like partial tackle, tag, or flag football. They're kind of diluted versions of American football on a social level. And yeah, and that's kind of been through much of my like middle school, high school. That was kind of more of a thing in middle school and high school. Yeah, so that's kind of my experience. Not competitive like rugby level for me for American football. And so that's my experience. how are they different? The balls are different. The rugby ball is not laced. And ball movement within these sports is very different. So in American football, football players can kind of, there's not necessarily as much effort from all team members in American football as there is in rugby. So the ball in American football, they can throw it like a quarterback or another player can throw it like 60 yards down the field to someone. They can float, my point being, in American football, the ball is thrown or can be thrown forward. In rugby, you can't do that. That's illegal by game rules. So you have to pass sideways or behind you. So very different pace of game, though what rugby, so it can be slower in terms of actually moving the ball forward, like the ball itself, but that makes up for that in game pace, because in rugby, so if somebody gets tackled, the game doesn't stop. Like in American football, if somebody's tackled or the ball hits the ground, like ball's out of play, the game stops. In rugby, it does not. You keep going. And so, yeah, you form different tackle structures depending on how the ball goes down or how the ball goes out of bounds. So there's like the scrum, then there's individual tackle structures with somebody on the ground with the ball. And then there's also if a ball goes out of bounds. In rugby, there's jumping. Jumping is not in American football, and I'm not talking about like one person just jumping up and catching a ball. I'm talking about people lift a rugby player up when a ball is thrown back in bounds, and they fight. Like there's jumpers for each side, like each side of the rugby field, and they fight for the ball in the air. So like rugby is very high contact, and it doesn't stop like American football does. So American football, there's a lot of run a few yards, don't run any yards, or stop and take a break. Rugby, that doesn't exist. It's go, 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 high intensity, high contact all the way through. Big difference. So what position did I play in rugby? I was weak side flanker. That means I was on the left side of the field, which meant I faced the opposing team's strong side. And then our strong side, the right side flanker, faced the weak side of the opposing team. And the structure is that a bit because then both teams have a chance of running the ball theoretically past the weak flanker. So you can, in essence, determine how strong a team is by the strength of the weak side flanker, because if the weak side flanker can stop the strong side flanker of the opposing team, then there's a good chance the strong side flanker can stop the weak side, and you can have both sides of the field moving forward as opposed to just one side or the other. So yeah, I would say in my experience watching the sports, rugby is far better at like field coverage because the ball can go sideways or backwards. Rugby can be all over the place versus football tends not to be quite so much. And people don't pass it backwards to literally run it backwards or sideways as the only ball movement. Because forward passing is not allowed. One of the biggest difference is between the sports, and especially like if thinking of playing in these sports, American football is super protected. It's super padded. There's padding, bunches and bunches of padding, and there's helmets. There's a lot of protective equipment. In rugby, you don't get that. You get tackled. Or I got tackled and I tackled. That's the flanker's position. Flankers should be making at least half of the tackles in a game. So it was run, tackle someone, get back up and do it again. That was like my job. And that was my role as a weak side flanker. And so, yes. What was that? Oh, American football. So there's padding. There's none of that body padding in rugby, and that American football players have. And American football players will wear helmets. In rugby, there are no helmets. You might have like caps. Some people had caps. You could wear caps, but you couldn't not helmets. So yeah, and oddly enough, tackle injuries are less in rugby than American football, which kind of might seem strange considering rugby there is no padding, there is no armor, there is no helmet. So how are injuries actually less in rugby than American football? Well, in rugby, we are taught, it is part of the sport, to tackle right so that you do not injure your opponent. That is not the case in American football. American football is kind of like a free-for-all in tackling. It's not really, I'm going to tackle this person with keeping their safety in mind. It's kind of the opposite in American football. In rugby, jump tackles are not allowed. So you tackle in a way, and they're extremely frowned upon at the least. Let's put it that way. And so, because you can do serious damage to an opponent that way. And so we're taught to tackle right so that when somebody who's tackled falls, they don't get injured, or the chances of the person getting injured are minimized. So in that sense, rugby is a very optimized sport for protecting the players, taking into account the fact that there is no padding, there is no protection, there is no fluff, so to speak. You're gonna take the blow. Like, and we had practices where it was only tackling. There's no padding. Yeah. So we would practice getting tackled. We'd tackle others and get tackled ourselves and fall with no padding, no helmet, none of that stuff. Yeah. So that's that. Anything else? So that's kind of my experience, a bit about the sports. I feel like I'm forgetting something. I probably am. It's cold out here. I'm filming this later than I expected because of this technology glitch with my phone. I'm hoping there's audio on this recording so I don't have to do it again. But which sport is better? Well, I think it comes down to, like, I think a case could be made for either sport. Like, if you're into really intense, high contact, moving the ball sports, rugby is definitely the sport. As long as you're looking for, like, physical prowess. Like American football, like it kind of comes across as like, oh, I got tackled, oh, I'm hurt, and then they have like padding and a helmet, and like having played rugby and even watch just rugby, I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. There are people in this world who can take that and not stop, right? And then like there's football playing like, oh my gosh, and it's like melodrama on the football field, and so rugby doesn't have that. Like I think just the structure of the sport prevents that, because like you can be as melodramatic as you want, but you're gonna get kicked off the field by your own team because you're not moving the ball, because you don't get that kind of privilege of stopping like American football does, and that's just the design of rugby. It's a very high intensity sport, and I would say as to, I'm gonna go with which sport is better, which is the better sport. I think on a pure sport level, rugby hands down takes it for me, because it is a testament to what the human body can do and what the human body can take in such a way that is confidence building. Like, I was a small player and I was out there tackling and getting tackled, and to actually get the self-confidence of, I don't have to wear a helmet, I don't have to have padding on, and I can still walk away from this, like literally. And just the confidence building aspect to it, both of these is huge. And then I'm also going to add, both of these in America, American football is a big thing. Internationally, rugby is a big thing. Even in the United States, it's a big thing. In the United States of America, rugby is a big thing. And the culture, even in the United States of America, of rugby is very, very strong. There's a very strong, both for the teams and the spectators around the rugby teams. And so American football isn't the only sport with a very strong culture around it. So these are on par with each other for the culture that surrounds them. And so for me, rugby is the better sport. Which sport is better, rugby or American football? Rugby takes it because it's a testament to what the body, the human body, can do. And I like the ball better. No laces. So cool. And I like it's a really good motivator, only being able to throw it sideways and behind one. Kind of always keeps me on my toes. So yeah, rugby takes it this round, or not this round, this match.